on Teams, since the meeting is waiting to be started.
It was set up every,
Obviously.
we were set up top, but I was selected.
Okay.
What was it?
Welcome to Newcastle Borough Council's Cabinet meeting. Welcome to our members joining us in the room, and also our officers, also a member of the press as well. Introducing our Cabinet members, we've got Councillor Craig Skelvin, Portfolio Holder for Leisure, Culture and Heritage, Councillor Jill Easton, Portfolio Holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing, Councillor David Hutchins, who's our Portfolio for Sustainable Environment, and Councillor Andy Fee, who's Portfolio for Strategic Planning. Next to me is Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Finance, Town Centres and Growth, Stephen Sweeney, and I'm Councillor Leader Simon Tidewell. For those people also joining us on the live Teams broadcast today, and also anybody that's watching on YouTube after, if you like the agenda, it's in the section below the video. So we'll move to apologies. We have none, all Cabinet members are here. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do you have any declarations of interest from members for items on the agenda? Not seeing any. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting attached on page 1 of 5 of the agenda from our meeting of the 19th of March. Can we agree those as a correct record? Thank you. And our first item of business is our Wally's Quarry odour issues update. As I say every time, every Cabinet meeting now since 2021, our first item has been an update on the ongoing issues of the gas odours from Wally's Quarry. And this report takes the usual format, which is to look at the complaints, to look at the monitoring information, the actions of the EA, the Borough Council and other partners. And I'm going to head over to Simon McKenny, who's going to introduce the report today. Simon.
Thank you, Leader. Item 4 on page 11, as you can see, is the normal, as you said, report on the performance of Wally's Quarry. It's in a very similar format to previous reports, and in terms of data, it provides an update for the last 3 months, which you'll be able to see throughout the report. In section 2, 2.1, where it talks about complaints in January were high, raising to a peak in February, and then since then the trend has been a reduction in the number of complaints, with just 20 in March. On the air quality data, we know that complaints tend to correlate well with the air quality data. And at 2.14, the graph showing the two dates show that these follow well in February, January and the early part of March, after this complaints are reducing despite the peak of WHO percentage exceedance at MNF1. It is also good to see that the MMF at Silverdale Road has now been replaced and is reporting data which was a whole in previous data sets. In terms of legal action, since the last Cabinet update, Council has received a report which confirms that there has been a breach of the abatement notice and resolved that we will now start to prepare appropriate legal proceedings, and work in this respect is ongoing. Also, since the last update report, there has been some data collated following the completion of the works by Wally's Quarry Limited, as required by the Environment Agency through the suspension notice. It is also noted that Wally's Quarry Limited have had at the time also installed additional geomembrane. The graph on page 4, which is page 15 of your report, shows the daily complaint numbers made to the Council pre, during and after the suspension notice. It is positive to report that complaint numbers have reduced, but officers will also note that there has also been a change in the weather conditions, which we know affects odour dispersal, and therefore, although the data to date is positive, we will be continuing to monitor and assess to determine the effectiveness of measures installed. In terms of the Environment Agency updates, there have been no compliance assessment reports issued, and in respect of the H2S data adjustments, the EA have provided an update statement which confirms that the report has yet to be published and no date has been provided for this, and we're continuing to push the EA on that date. In terms of the KPIs, KPIs for Newcastle are attached to the appendix, and the data from Wally's Quarry has yet to be received in this and will be uploaded once received. Thank you.
Thank you. I think obviously data showing that complaints are down. I think I know out in the community there are still reports of odours, and I think even today, this morning, last night, there are reports of odours around the site, so this hasn't gone away. And certainly, I think we may be getting on the back of the suspension notice on the back of the council announcement a few weeks ago, is taking legal action on people that may not be reporting. The message to them is continue to report whenever you smell and fill in that form online with it, so that can be gauged and that can be put in with any evidence towards any action that is being taken. Well, I think the big news, which you pointed out earlier, Simon, and thank you for taking the helm of our action on Lois Quarry since our previous chief executive Martin left at the end of March, is that the announcement that the council is identified a breach in the abatement notice that was reported to full council on Wednesday, the 10th, wasn't it? Wednesday, the 10th of April. And I think members were really sort of keen to support the officers. As we pointed out to that night, we don't have a legal role in this process as elected members. So we obviously are officers, professional officers, that will pursue it. We just make sure the funding is in place for allowing the action to be taken. And we've done that. There is significant funding and more funding available to be drawn down if necessary for any legal action. But what is the latest position on that? Obviously, it's now been a week or so since full council. I know that the council has been seeking a lot of advice, particularly from King's Council. What was the latest update on that, and anything further to add?
Thank you, Lucas. Since the meeting of council on the 10th, we've been talking to our lawyers and the KC around the next steps. The next step we have to undertake is to issue a letter to the Secretary of State for his permission to undertake legal action against Lois Quarry. So we are in the process of drafting that. It's not a simple letter you just say, dear Secretary, can we go forward? We will hopefully get that letter out to the Secretary of State in the next week, and then we, subject to getting that permission, and we can start with full force to go to legal proceeding.
Okay, thank you. So I think that's the update. The really hot off the presses today is that our officer, through our interim chief executive, will be writing to the Right Honourable Steve Barclay MP, Secretary of State, asking that he grants permission as quickly as possible so that a case can be prepared for legal action against the operator for the breach of the abatement notice. So I really welcome that. I think it's the next step along the line of this process, which has been triggered since our officers have identified the breach in the abatement notice. And I completely support this next step of action to get this letter into the Secretary, saying that he will look at that and grant the council its permission to go forward to then build that legal case and potentially take legal action against the operator. I think we're doing that on behalf of our residents who suffered for long enough during this process, and they expect the council to act within its powers. We aren't the Environment Agency, we're not the regulator of Lois Quarry, but we do have those rules, those roles around the abatement notice process. With limited powers, it has to be said, but we're going to use, hopefully the council will use those to its full. And really, we hope the Secretary of State will grant the permission which our officers are seeking to begin to start those legal proceedings. I'm going to move up now to comments from members, Steve, and then Andy.
Thanks, Lee. No, I agree. I think this is the next move in a process. The process has to be followed. I think we'd all like to jump in front of it and do various statements, but we can't do it. It's a process to follow, and we're following. And I welcome that, and I welcome the fact that we continue to hold Lois Quarry in the EA to account during this process. Yes.
Andy.
Thanks very much. No, I too welcome the action that's being taken by officers and look forward to it being endorsed by the Secretary of State. It seems to me difficult to envisage a situation where Secretary of State wouldn't want to support the local community in this regard. It is obviously, it's a nice thing that the figures are pointing in the right direction, but we all know that this has been a bit of a roller coaster, and we certainly have to be vigilant. As I went home yesterday evening, there was a very strong smell along Keel Road from the Oldham Road up to the Galstree roundabout, and unfortunately, it has to be said, when I came into work this morning to this building, that odour, I mean, I hope it wasn't there all night. Mercifully, I wasn't there all night. I mean, it was still persisting there as I came down at about 10:30 this morning. So there's certainly work to be done there. I welcome what our officers are doing, and again, frankly, but lament the fact that we have to do this because the Environment Agency aren't doing their job.
Thank you, Andy. I'd certainly support your comments there, and I think we have seen the environmental agency step up a bit, haven't we, with that suspension notice, and I'm sure they're following their own routes around that. But we as a council, through our offices, have a route now to begin to address some of those issues which the public have raised with us over a number of years, and that's the legal route through the abatement notice, which is, as Simon said, will be hopefully triggered when the Secretary of State would give permission for the council to pursue legal action. So I think we'll keep the public updated on that. I think obviously when the letter's gone in, hopefully the Secretary of State, as I believe was saying in the letter, will deal with that very quickly to give us a view so we can press ahead with a course of action, which again, I'll emphasise, it will be our officers to decide what that course of action is. And members will be backing that with the necessary funds to enable that any legal action to be prosecuted to its full extent. Any other council members wish to come in? Not seen any indications. So the recommendation is that we know the report and discuss. We have done. I think the big news is, as Simon's announced, that we will be writing to the Secretary of State as the council to ask for permission as part of the legal arrangements around the statutory nuisance instrument that we have. So we'll over to our Secretary of State. So thank you for that. We'll move on now to item number 5, which is corporate peer review progress report. Really pleased to bring this item to Cabinet again. It was spring of last year, we had a peer review, which was reported back at the time as a really good endorsement of the direction the council taking, leadership on key areas such as the regeneration agenda, using government funding coming in to help us to move our town forward. Even praise them for the council's role in tackling the Wallis Quarry issue. As part of that, we've had a return visit from the peer reviewers, and I'm pleased to say that their follow-up report is just as good as the previous report. It notes actions we've taken in the time since they first came to, particularly on the regeneration, where we've moved forward in leaps and bounds, made sort of our projects more affordable through the partnerships we're beginning to forge now with Capital Centric, for example, and it's really made it more affordable to borrow some of the money for those projects as well. We've also got a timeline now of how projects will be developed at the dual place, Midway, the Rycroft. Are all moving forward now. The car park, the Newcastle car park, replacement car park is beginning to take shape on the corner of the site as well. And also praise in the report for the council, the way it's changing and it's internally changing to provide better services for residents. We can be the progress on that since they initially came in to when they reported back just recently, and which the reports are detailed in Cabinet papers, shows that we're still moving in the right direction, and that we are balancing our budgets. We're focusing the money where it needs to go, and also improving services, as we see later on the agenda when it comes to management of grasslands across the borough, to respond to not only the public's demands, but also for the need to integrate climate change and also nature recovery into the work that we do as well. So it's a really good report. Really pleased to bring it to Cabinet. We'll open up those comments from Steve first.
The two highlights for me really are the talk about regeneration when it talks about innovative approaches to financing delivery, which is what we're doing rather than doing the sort of standard model, looking at different ways of financing. And that rather ties in with the later on, where it says the peer team continues to be impressed with how the council manages its finances. This is testament to the collective approach of the S151 officer and finance colleagues working with elected members and officers to find efficiencies and to close the budget gap in 24-25 without having to call on reserves. So we're important to continue to closely monitor delivery of the budget and savings throughout the year and ensure members are able to confidently scrutinise the financial position of the council, and I can assure members that they will do, and that it's the council scrutinises everything of the government expense.
Thank you, Steve. Bring in David Hutchins.
Thank you, Leader. The council again can feel proud of its achievements as externally evidenced through the corporate peer challenge, with many positive aspects highlighted in the progress review, including increased levels of employee satisfaction and engagement, which is a real testament to how this organisation is run. I spoke with members of the Peer Challenge Review Board when they visited, and they reported a great team spirit down at the depot. So well done, the Sustainable Environment team at the depot. This team spirit was reflected in impressive staff survey results, where 95% of respondents understand what is needed to reach targets, and 90% of the respondents understand how their role impacts and benefits the residents. I think from the positive staff survey results, officers and members of the council can be very positive about the future.
Thank you, David. I think you also focus on that frontline staff, as you've just done there, and which covers your portfolio. I think really through our recycling teams, through our grounds maintenance teams, through our street scene teams, they're out there on the front line, responding to residents and providing a good service. And just looking out into the Queen's Gardens today, you'll see that the grounds maintenance teams have done a brilliant job of the spring flower display in Queen's Gardens. It's really credit to them and to the Borough Council and to the Borough as a whole. Andy.
Thanks very much. Again, this is another good news story, isn't it? We had a very happy outcome to our peer review, and the nice thing is that this shows that that wasn't a flash in the pan. I mean, we've had a revisit, the same positive attitude has been taken, and I think this is, a genuine reflection of where the council is. Again, quite a lot of the report talks about the strength of morale within the council itself, and I know within the area that I have responsibility for, there is ongoing work to make sure that the planning section feels that they're all engaged in the project, they all know what they're doing, and I think that's reflected in the really hard, serious work that's coming out both on the strategic and the DC aspects of what planning is doing. So I'm really heartened by this. I think it is a genuine and true reflection of an organisation which is heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Andy. Great.
Thank you, Leader. I welcome this review. I'd like to just, I know the leader's already commented on this, but I'd like to focus on recommendations on item 7, 3 and 4 about the regeneration plans. I think it's great to hear accommodations to what's becoming as the quoted at the review. I think it's quoted as the year of delivery for 3 major projects. So with like York Place, Rycroft and the Midway Car Park, I think with these developments, these projects, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to regenerate these. And I think once it's done, will be a great credit to the borough. It's good to see everyone pulling together and driving the borough onwards and upwards. And it's great to be part of a council that's actually heavily invested into these projects and regeneration of what was already a great borough, but making it even better for the years to come. And when these projects come to fruition, I think it'll be rewarding for the entire borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And let's not forget the projects in Kisgrove as well, with the station and the hub, and also we're ready to deliver the Kisgrove Sports Centre, which is a testament to when we set our minds to do something and we do it, and it's been a resounding success so far, which is really good. Jim.
Yeah, I mean, within my portfolio, I was really pleased to see the peer team recognition and high esteem for the work done with the vulnerability and homeless. We work with partner agencies, and it was a real pleasure to see that they recognise all the hard work that goes into working with some of our vulnerable people in the borough. And we continue to build on this, and certainly it's a difficult area. And it was a real pleasure to see that, our workforce and agency and partner agencies, they recognise that.
Thank you, Jim. So really a good report as we think that, I think portfolio holders can see, where in their portfolios, we are focused on that delivery, also making things happen. I think as Craig pointed out, that it says in the report that year of delivery, particularly on the regeneration projects, we're into that now and actually delivering on the ground, which is really good. I think really we don't rest on our laurels going forward. We're always pressing forward. I think our sustainability agenda and our net zero by 2030 targets is going to be a focus for us over the next few years, and stacking up all the council resources behind that to achieve what we want to achieve for our borough. So recommendation for us that we receive the Local Government Association Corporate Review Peer Review Progress Report, and then be approved for publication on the council's website. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. And that brings us to item number 6, which is grassland management strategy and plan. Over to Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. The aim of the grassland management and strategy plan is to increase biodiversity and nature recovery networks in the borough, more particularly more invertebrates, wildflowers and the small fauna. This will contribute to the council's net zero goals by 2030 by reducing the amount of fuel the council uses and sequestrating and storing more carbon with increased grasslands. The report also outlines the council's approach to the National No Mow May campaign on a selection of sites where some set-aside areas can be achieved. The different pocket sites in different wards are listed in section 3.6 of your report. As you will see in section 3.4, the strategy is in 3 phases. Phase 1 will cover the next 2 years, when there will be a consultation period. If proved to benefit biodiversity and improve residents' views on wildlife in the public places, then phase 3 in the parks and the grasslands may begin. Now, looking at section 3.5, you will see that the strategy has 6 distinct policy areas. The public open spaces and informal sports amenity policy will see the grass cut to 50 millimetres every 4 weeks during the growing season, but any sports pitch area will be cut to 50 millimetres every 10 days. I think this will ensure that the grassland areas are well managed for use for sports and by the community for recreation. The Borough Council Grassland Management Strategy and Plan will be the beginnings towards a new outlook on how the council manages its land and promotes the national environment in the borough. The strategy will make the council a leader in this sector. I'm very happy to present this report to Cabinet for discussion, debate and hopefully approval. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think this report, I think, points out that this Borough Council, when it comes to this agenda, is sort of front runners, I think, in across this county. And I think when we look at the sites we set aside for carbon capture areas, tree planting, meadows, and this just carries on that strategy for a better management of our grasslands as well. I think those pocket parks are a really brilliant innovation. I think No Mow May has been gathering momentum for a number of years, and it's not, you can't plain sail through that, because on one side people want to have every bit of grass left along for us all through the summer, and then others want to have, regularly cut. So we've got a balance in between. I think this does create that balance. Since we've taken on the grass cutting contract from the county council, we're now more in control of ensuring that those, in the thoroughfares, in the streets and avenues and roads can be kept well mowed and better mowed, better quality. And we're already doing that. We're seeing that. We're into the second mow already on that contract. But there's also areas that sit behind that, or the sort of our grassland areas, which we can allow to grow longer during this time of the year to promote the things you said, David, all that, and wildlife, etc. And we have those in those proposals, which you pointed out on 3.6. I think some of these, are within our 60 sites that we've over 60 sites now that we've preserved, and these are just 15 or so of those where we're beginning to look at a different way of grass cutting. For example, as you can see in the ward that I represent in the Westlands, there's 2 there, Land Behind Leeds Drive, an area that was signalled as a housing site until we took over the council. That's now been protected as a green space. Trees have been planted, and the next step is to allow some of the grass there to grow longer for a meadow effect and to help wildlife without affecting people's use of that. There'll still be pathways through. There are pathways through the one at Leeds Drive. And also on the list is the Land Behind Guernsey Drive, which again is another field area. The Borough Council has a large set of fields around the back of the estate, which again can be better utilised for nature as well, and also for maintenance issues as well. But again, on the front of there, we have grass verges and bigger verges behind there, both borough and county responsibilities. They will be cut more now than they were before when the county had control of those. So I think that's the balance we want to have on those. So really pleased this has been brought forward. I think the key thing as well, David, is that this is to be reviewed as we go along. We may add more to it, we may take out, if we ask people in the consultation and board members, particularly as we've said in the recommendation here, that this is approved here, but also particularly on the May areas, that we will consult the local borough councils as well on those sites in their areas, which are detailed on 3.6, which is the right thing to do, and ask our local members who've got their ears to the ground on this, and to see if there's going to be any community sort of backlash, so to speak, but also actually to inform the public that this is coming, if they know that a bit of grasslands are going to be left to measure over during this period. This thing that is happening, it doesn't come as a surprise. So really like this report, we like the strategy, and it takes us forward. And as I say, in this area of operations, I think one of the leaders in the county across this great county allows that we are on the forefront of this, as we are on so many other things, in such as recycling as well, and food waste collection. So really good. Open up to comments now, Steve.
Honestly, I've not got much to say really. I think you've covered everything I was going to say. I think this is a compromise between the two. When you cut no grass, some people aren't happy when the grass verges are really high. So we're not going to cut the grass verges, but there's areas of land around the borough. It's not the football pitches on it. It's people just walk over it. It could just easily be 6 inches high as sunshine. The grass, and I think it's an excellent compromise between the two things. It ticks every box for me. It's an excellent strategy.
Okay, not seen any more speakers. Anything you want further to add, David? Okay, we'll just move the recommendations as set out. Approve the grassland management strategy and plan, and also approve the selected sites for the No May campaign. And that will be consultation with local borough councils, as it is the right thing to do. All agreed? Thank you. That moves us then to item number 7, which is asset disposal, Aidale Business Park, and Steve's introducing this one.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of the report today is to seek approval to dispose of land at Aidale Business Park, Watermills Road, Chesterton, for industrial development purposes. It's an industrial plot of land which measures 3.335 acres. The site has not previously been listed in the asset management strategy for disposal, as has drainage issues. But a local business who is looking to expand their business has expressed an interest in acquiring this land and is prepared to deal with the drainage issues associated with the site. In accordance with the council procedures, we have advertised the site for sale, and upon receipt of the open market offers, the support will allow us to dispose of the highest bidder to highest bidder.
Thank you, Steve. I think obviously we've been asked to approve this disposal of the land at Aidale Business Park, Watermills, Chesterton, for industrial development purposes. We have to then authorise to present a consultation with yourself to complete the disposal of the land. As said, do we all agree? Okay, thank you for that. We now move to item 8, which is irrecoverable items 2023-2024, and for that financial year. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Leah. For a number of reasons, and following the issue of invoices for amounts due to the council, it is considered the debt is no longer able to be collected. Normally, these reasons follow from the debtor having been subjected to insolvency proceedings or other legal processes in respect of their debt, or even the death of a debtor. There is then no further options to recover the outstanding amounts, and it is necessary to write off the outstanding balances from the council's records. This report seeks approval to write off those irrecoverable debts in the amount of £175,614. This amount is made up of £42,420 sundry debtors, which we pay in total. That's our debt, and £133,194 in respect of national non-domestic rates. It should be noted the council's share of national non-domestic rates amount is £53,278, being 40%. The remaining amount will be covered by central government, which is 50% of business rates, county council 9%, and staff fire and rescue service at 1%. The annual recovery amount has been reducing over the last few years due to improved debt management and the introduction of the debt recovery policy. If I freehand, this is something that we don't like doing at all, because it's taxpayers' money we're giving away here. But I'm content that officers have done everything they could possibly do to recover this debt, and there's no other option we have but to get rid of it.
Thank you, Steve. There is also a confidential item which will come under the confidential section, which just details the lists of those figures you just, which of course we can't reveal because of the personal data in them. I think just on the back of what you said, Steve, I think we always have a discussion about this is not what we want to do, but of course I think that also what we do say is that if any information comes to light in the future at any of these, we can reopen and pursue. I think it's always the case that the council will always pursue any of these debts. Because in the end, this is money that hasn't been contributed into the pot for services, all the things we've just been talking about. And we must try and chase that up if we can. But we do know some businesses don't survive and then do go bust and then they're no longer available to pay. That's part of economic issues and cost of living issues as well. But to keep that figure low again this year, I know in the past many years, over many years, it has been a lot higher in this council. So to keep this figure lower on these irrecoverable debts it shows that our officers are doing all they can in the first place to ensure we don't end up on this list by pursuing and collecting those various debts. So we've got the recommendation before us there. We approve the disposal of wrong one. What am I doing? Is that we the appendix 1, which we'll look at in a minute under confidential, and consider they be written off because of the as stated in the report. All agreed. Thank you. We move now to item 9, which is the forward plan. We'll go through it page by page. The first couple of pages detail today's cabinet, where we've got all the items we said we were going to bring. Then we move into June, where we've got a Wallace Quarry update, refreshed sustainable environment strategy and action plan, a statutory leader board terms of reference, and also over the page we have the Kisbrook Town Deal Award contact for the shared services and garage replacement, and then the award of the contract for Castle Car Park payment systems, and then also in June we have crematorium and cemetery rules and regulations and taxi metered fares. And then we have a July meeting of Wallace Quarry update, animal welfare charter, and Kiel sustainable solar energy business case. So a lot of business coming up over the next couple of months or so as part of our forward plan. Do we agree with the forward plan? Thank you. That leads us to the urgent business. I have no urgent business that's been given to us today. Also, I've had no request from the public or cabinet or the councillors to speak, which leads us to item 11, which is the disclosure of exempt information resulting in the public excluded from the meeting during the consideration of reports are likely to lead to a disclosure of exempt information as per the Local Government Act. Everybody agree? Thank you. So we will now, thank you.